Welcome to another edition of Herkimer Central School District's Instructional Technology Support. Today we're going to be doing a virtual training on Apple Classroom. So let's take a look at some of the features that we're going to highlight today. First, we're going to cover just exactly what is Apple Classroom, how to connect to devices and how that works, monitoring devices, guided access, locking devices, and muting devices. So let's dive right into what is Apple Classroom. Apple Classroom is a classroom management software that will help you keep tabs on what's going on your students' iPads in the classroom. It's a simple app that's found right here. And to connect to students, it's just a simple app in the settings feature that you will be able to connect because it's already been added to this Apple iPads in the classroom. Underneath where it says Bluetooth, you would see a little Apple Classroom connection. App looks just like the one we have here. And when you wanted to connect a new class, you would hit the little plus there and you would name your class, give it a description. You can change the icon. You can change the icon's color. And once I give it a little description, we can hit done. And the class is created. Once I tap on this class, we can invite students. And I can AirPlay that class code to any Apple device so the students can see it. So when the students open up their Apple Classroom, they'll be able to enter in that code and join. Again, the students are going to open Apple Classroom by going to Settings. Underneath the Bluetooth, there'll be a classroom icon. They'll see a new class invitation. They can add class, enter in that code, which in this case is 8700. And you'll see the student has been added in, and I can just simply add, and now they're in my classes. So now that my students are in, what we see is we'd see all our students on the top here. We could also see the group of students down here. You'll see a bundling of students right there. It's very simple. What you can see is this student is our test student here is in the settings app. And as they change apps, you'll be able to see which apps they're accessing at that time. So if I open up a new thing, now I can see that this student is in Google Maps. You'll be able to see if you have more students, you'll be able to see all the different apps that they're in. I can also click on this button right here that looks like binoculars. And you'll be able to see what their screen looks like. So I can see that this student is now in Google Apps. If I want a close-up view of what this student is doing, I can tap on that student. I can hit the view screen, and I can see exactly where they are, what they're doing in real time. So now I can see that this student is zooming in on the Utica area, and I can see exactly what their screen is doing. I can hit done on my screen and drop out, and I can get a view of all the students again that would be in my class again. They would be tied up here, and you would see if this student were to change and suddenly go to the camera, I'd note that and be able to see. You can see my little test screen down here. If that's too busy for you, you can always click that off, and you'll still know exactly what app they are in by looking at this highlighted screen here. Let's go ahead and keep the screens on so we can show you some of the other things that are going to go on. Let's say we're working along and I want our students to be in a certain app. I can go ahead and hit this open, and anything recent is going to come up here. I can scroll through, and these are all the apps that are going to be available to the students. And let's say I want them working on something in, let's say Mail, or let's Keynote or iMovie. I can just tap on that button, and it'll open up iMovie on all of their apps. And so now you can see that the student is now in iMovie. It pushes all the students in your classroom to that. I can also take them to a specific page. Let's say I want them all to go to Hall of Heroes. I can click on that, and it's going to navigate all my students' iPads to Hall of Heroes. And there we go. So now it's all pushing them to there. I can also hide apps. If students are into something, like here I've got my test student into Apple TV, I can simply go there, I can hide their apps, and it brings everyone back to the home screen, hiding out their apps. In conjunction with Open, I can put them into, say, Google Maps. So now it's going to open up Google Maps, and I can lock their iPad, I can lock them into that app and not let them out of anything else. I can also lock their iPads. So now the iPads cannot go to anything else but what I want them to do. You see that's mirrored here with this lock screen. We can mute the iPads. So if we're doing something, an activity that is a very loud and noisy, and nobody has their headphones in, or people keep on in their headphones, you can mute their iPads so no one hears the sounds. We can also have the option of grouping, which if I wanted to group a bunch of students, if I had a group of students working on one app and another group of students working on another app, I can group them all together and force navigate them to other options. If we go back and we navigate them to, okay, so now I've navigated them to Maps. I can lock in our apps here. I can also send them, I can also have what they're working on airplayed. So let's say my test student here is doing something really cool and I want the entire class to see it. I can choose to airplay that student, and I can choose where I airplay them to. I can select the place that I'm airplaying it to, and then we can show exactly what everybody is doing. You'll also notice up here, it'll tell you exactly what the student is on if you click on the student. So for a second ago, you saw that the screen was off, and then they were on the lock screen, and then they went to Maps. That's a really great idea to follow along and see if they're actually like doing what they're supposed to be doing, and a little bit more of an idea of what they're doing. When you're done with class, you can hit End Class here. And what it's going to show you the app usage. Tap an app to see which students open it during class. So all the apps that students have had open are going to be on this screen, and it'll tell you exactly which students used those screens and how long they were on those for. So my test student, when I click on Maps, I can see that he was on this for a minute. The blue bar represents when they were on the maps. The gray bar represents when they weren't on that. Same thing with iMovie. You can see here's camera, Apple TV. They started out in settings. So it's a really great feature to see how long each student is spending in each classroom. And that's really kind of the beginning of Apple Classroom. It's a great way to force kids to certain sessions on their Apple devices. It's really good to monitor what they're doing. You can see what all their screens are doing. You can lock them out of an activity. If you want them to only use during certain times, you can keep them locked. Now keep in mind that this is connected through Bluetooth to each Apple iPad. So you're going to want to make sure you're all in the same room. It's not something that you would be able to send kids something and then send them out into a hallway. You're going to want to be within a relatively close 33 feet radius. The further away they get, the weaker the signal might get. So there may be some delay, so keep that in mind. But that is what Apple Classroom is all about. It's a great monitoring tool if you're using a classroom card of iPads or you have iPads in your classroom.